I ate half that broccoli. We got to catch up. There's a lot has changed. Dinner from I have to move 17. I thought we were doing like 6
Everybody, welcome to the hub. I see lots of familiar faces.
We do need to get dinner
and a couple people that I haven't seen before. Is this anybody's first time here? Okay. Oh wow, lots of people. Great.
How
Well,
you
we'll go
doing,
around
man?
and do some introductions.
I'm good.
My name's Sarah Goforth. I'm Director of Outreach for the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. My office right back there. The Brewer Family Entrepreneurship Hub, which is where you are, is a co-working space, a training space, a home base for U of A students, alums, faculty, staff. Really, the only prerequisite is that you have some interest in entrepreneurship and innovation. So presumably that includes all of you. So if you want to hear about our membership program, it's free. It's just a matter of filling out a form and indicating what your interests are. Just come up and talk to me afterward. I'm happy to tell you more about what we do here. We have our Director of Social Innovation, Rogelio Garcia Becerra, sitting right there. And I know some of you are probably participants in the Social Innovation Challenge. And Rachel and Haley in the back were both representing the Macmillan Innovation Studio, which I know lots of you are associated with as well. Was anybody here for the Start with the Problem workshop last week or whenever that was? Several of you were. So in that workshop, I used an example of a company called Movista. This company was founded by 2 graduate students who came through the entrepreneurship program. And I talked about how they didn't have an idea when they came into the class or the program. And Carol Reeves, who teaches that course, encouraged them to go home, think about the problems they experience in their daily lives, and start there. So this is Stan Zylowski right here. And he had been working sort of in the Walmart merchandising world and had an idea around a problem that he and his partners often faced. So they started a company around it. They did a lot of customer discovery, which is the topic we're going to be talking about today. And if they were here, they would tell you that customer discovery is the one thing that never stops. You are never done. If you're trying to innovate, if you're trying to create a startup, if you're trying to make a difference, you should always be out there talking to the people who are impacted by the problem you're trying to solve. So I mentioned them today because they have some great news. This was announced this morning. They raised $12 million in seed funding. And this is actually the first big exit for investors that this region has seen in a long time. So I point that out just because the process that we're trying to walk you through, starting with the problem, customer discovery, thinking about how to prototype, iterate, and pivot your ideas, it really does work, and not just for company formation, but for making a difference in the world too. So we're really happy about that news today. So before we get started, I would love it if we could quickly go around the room. I know I always ask you to do this, but for the new people especially, and just maybe say your name, what your program is, and why you're here. So we'll start with this table.
I'm Elena. I'm a public health major, and I'm on Nick's team for the innovation studio.
So my name is Nick. I'm a supply chain major, and I lead the supply chain project team for the innovation studio that deals with director of retention.
My name is Jacob Evans, and I'm an information systems major, and I'm leading the Seamless Commerce project.
I'm Taylor Hunt. I am a supply chain and information systems major, and I'm the supply chain program director at the Innovation Studio.
My name is John Haney. I'm a civil engineering major, and I'm working with Smith on his project for the Macmillan Innovation Studio.
My name is Nick Patel. We are working to provide access to healthier foods to the community.
My name is Gala. I'm an HR management senior, and I'm in Professor Rogelio's social entrepreneurship class.
What did you say your name was?
Gala. G-A-L-A.
My name is Moise. I'm a junior studying management with a facilities minor, and I'm part of Monica Sewell's supply chain team.
Awesome. Maybe the table over here. So let's go first.
Yeah, sure. My name is Karen Hessing. I'm a graphic design senior student, and I'm in a human-centered design class right now. So
cool. Who teaches that?
Marty Maxwell.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
You're with a challenge with the social innovation.
Yes, I am.
Same. I'm Jackie, and we're in the same class.
Okay, I'm Giovanna. I'm visiting Research of People Fulbright program here in the Department of Economics. I am from Kosovo, Europe, and the reason why I'm attending this workshop in many projects in Innovation Center back home, and also I've been part of Global Entrepreneurship Monitor Week in Kosovo. So,
Wow.
and I've sent also some emails, I don't know to who, because I wanted to schedule an appointment to see what you do here. So I think I'm in the right place.
Maybe Rogelio and I could set up a joint appointment with you. I'd love to.
Even I
I'd love
got
to hear
lost
more.
on the way coming here, but I feel like I'm
You're in the right place. For sure. Great, welcome.
Hi, I'm Madeline. I'm a marketing major, and I'm participating in the Social Innovation Challenge.
I'm Edward Fowler. I'm in Michael Cummings' class. So,
My name's Sierra. I'm actually a political science major. I just came to check it out with them. So.
Oh, I'm from here.
My name is Fisher Jones. I'm a part of the Social Innovation Challenge, but I'm also an entrepreneur myself. Yeah. I'm an accounting major.
My name is Braden Weaver. I'm a supply chain major, and I'm with the Social Innovation Challenge.
My name is Charles. I'm a management major, and I am also with the Social Innovation Challenge.
And I already introduced you guys. Anything else you want to add about yourselves that I didn't say? There's so much more to say. Rachel?
I like googly eyes.
You like eyes. She does. Watch your mugs. Okay, part of the customer. That's what this workshop is titled, but I always like to point out in the beginning that when I use the word customer, that's a pretty businessy term, and for the business people in the room, that sounds familiar and comfortable. But for a lot of other people, so I work with a lot of science and engineering students, customer is not a word that they use a lot. Really what that means is the person who's impacted by the problem you're trying to solve. So it could be a user, could be a patient in a clinical setting, could be an audience, it could simply be someone you care about that you're trying to help. So when you see the word customer in the presentation or when I use it, please think of that in the broad sense for all those things. This is my favorite comic, and I almost never do a presentation without one, so bear with me. This is what we're trying to avoid. Is anybody here vulnerable to this? You ever had an idea that you just couldn't bear to get out there in the world? I know I have. I'm hoping to persuade you today that if you have an idea that doesn't get out there in the world, it doesn't actually make a difference at all. It's not worth anything. It's not worth impact. It's not worth money. It's not worth innovation. So I'm going to try to convince you that the first thing you should do is actually start talking to people about it. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you'll be with it. The more comfortable you are with it, the more you'll learn. The more you learn, the better your idea can become. So a lot of you were here for the How to Think About a Problem workshop, and a lot of you are here because of a challenge or a team that you're working on that has identified a problem. So you've got one. Next step, what do? The first thing that I suggest that you do is you do some customer discovery. What does that mean? It's an open-ended, honest search for information. It helps test the ideas behind your idea. When I say helps test the ideas, the assumptions, the hypotheses, do you know what that means? Anybody want to help unpack what that means? What's an assumption? Smith?
Something that you might think that they're going through, but it could or could not be true.
Yeah, something that you might think the person you're trying to serve is experiencing. You think this is true. Like, for example, you might think that busy parents need help packing lunches for their kids. But you don't know if it's true or not because you don't know many of those people, so you need to go out and test your assumption. Writing it down on paper so that you can go test it is a really important step. It's honest because you want to do everything in your power to avoid confirmation bias. This is a really big deal. Are you familiar with that term at all? Does anyone know what confirmation bias means, Taylor?
I mean, it's just whenever you're looking for an answer, and so all the questions you ask and everything you pose is going to confirm that that answer is correct.
Yeah, that's right. So it's when you really want to believe something is true, so you sort of seek out information that validates that it's true. With social media, this is more and more of a problem in society in general. You know, people who believe that climate change is a problem seek out articles, opinion pieces, points of view that reflect that. People who believe that climate change isn't a problem do the same thing, and these two communities of people tend to spin around in their own worlds without actually being out there and seeking the truth. Confirmation bias is a really powerful thing, so I'm going to give you some tips and tools that you can use to avoid it. It's critically important when you're doing customer discovery. If you're out there talking to people and only hearing what you want to hear, you will not get value out of it, and your idea won't get better, which is the whole point. So here's a quote from Henry Ford. He said, once upon a time, if I'd asked people what they want wanted, they would have said faster horses. What does he mean by that?
People don't know what you want unless you show them what they want half the time.
Yeah, you don't want people to design your product for you. You don't want people to say, okay, this is what you should invent, this is what you should create. That's your job. You're innovators, you're creators, you're inventors, you are solution finders. What you want when you're pursuing customer discovery is to empathize with the people on the other end. You want to know what their problems are. So if Henry Ford went out there to do some customer discovery, which wasn't a term in his era, but he might have done this, he would have asked things like, what are the problems you encounter in your life? And what do you think people at the time might have said?
Can't get to work fast enough.
I can't get to work fast enough. It takes me 3 hours. What else might they have said?
My horse wants to eat grass.
My horse has a mind of its own.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else might they have said?
I can't get it out of my stirrup that easily.
I can't get it out of my stirrup that easily. You don't know. Exactly. They would have talked about their problems, and he would have realized, okay, people need efficiency, they need speed, they need comfort, they need ease of transportation, and that would have helped him focus on what the solution was. This is kind of a funny quote, but it's actually a really tempting thing to go out there and ask people, okay, what do you think I should do? And learning how to not ask questions that way is part of what this process is about. So customer discovery is not asking people to design your product. No. It's also not abdicating your vision. So yes, you want to get really honest, open information from the people you're talking to, but you have a vision, you have a passion, you may have an idea, you may have a product, you may have a very specific product in mind, something that you want to create. Maybe it's an app, maybe it's a tool, maybe it's a type of greenhouse. We'll see that example later in the presentation. You don't have to abdicate your vision, you just have to sort of set it aside. So when you're out there talking to people, it's not really about your vision, it's about what they need, the pain points they're feeling, the problems they have in their day-to-day lives. You don't have to put away your vision and do away with it. It's just not the focus of the conversation. And it's definitely not making a pitch. Why is it not making a pitch?
Because you don't want to tell them necessarily. You want them to provide an open-ended discussion. So it's kind of like, this is what's on my mind. It's open for criticism. But if you're making a pitch, it's like, here's what I've got, take it or leave it.
Yeah, here's what I've got, take it or leave it. And what do you think, if you make a pitch to people about your idea and you say, okay, well, here's the problem I'm trying to solve and this is the way I want to solve it, what do you think you're going to hear back from them?
Oh, that's good.
Looks good. Yeah, good for you. That's great. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's wonderful. They're going to want to give you what you want to hear when you set it up that way. So it's really important when you're framing these conversations to let them know this is about you, it's not about me, and to definitely not be selling your idea. Okay, so where do you start? First place to start, whether you have a problem and no idea, or whether you have a problem and an idea, is to identify your customer or your user, stakeholder, client, patient, your segments. So these are the communities of people who are impacted by your idea in some way. The way that you do this is you ask questions like this. Okay, whose pain point am I addressing? This is the most obvious thing. So if you're working in the business of food insecurity, you might be addressing the pain point of families that don't have access to healthy foods. Who will buy or fund the solution? These are not always the same people. Sometimes they are. So if you're creating a business-to-consumer company, for example, you're probably trying to address a pain point for someone who will purchase a product. But often, especially in the social innovation space, the people whose pain you're addressing are not the same people who are funding the solution. So you want to interview both segments. Who else cares about this problem? Why do you want to interview people in this realm?
They will be your partners later down the line.
They could be your partners later down the line. This is really important. And a lot of entrepreneurs get this wrong. They sort of stick to the team that they built without thinking about, okay, what are the resources I could draw from? How might I partner with the community, with the state, with other companies, with other nonprofits to address this problem? There's another reason why you might ask who cares about this problem. Can anybody think of another reason? It's kind of the opposite reason.
To identify who else you could target with your product?
Maybe, yeah, who else you could target, maybe other communities that it might impact. I was thinking your competition.
Oh, that too.
Sometimes this applies, sometimes this doesn't apply. There might be other people trying to generate a market around your idea. You want to know what they're doing. You want to know what your competition is. And when you're a student, it's really easy to get out there and learn about it because you can say, hey, I'm a student, I'm doing research for a student project. Will you tell me all your trade secrets? And they might do it. If you come to them from the outside world, from the business community, it's a lot harder to get at that information. So you guys have an advantage when you're talking to other people that care about your problem. Who is my early adopter? Anyone know what that means?
Your first users.
Your first users. Sometimes you'll know. Sometimes you'll have a hunch. These are usually people who feel the pain the strongest. Sometimes you won't know. Sometimes you'll have to go out there and ask and talk to people and really sort of suss it out from your early interviews. And I'll give you an example of how that works sometimes. This is a guy named Jared Greer. He was a student in the New Venture Development Program last year, and he formed a company called Lapidations. Jared is a medical device salesperson. That's what he does in his day job. And he's been working with a surgeon who specialized in laparoscopic surgery, which is minimally invasive surgery, usually in the abdomen. And the surgeon at one point had pointed out that all these surgeries, even though they're supposed to be minimally invasive, they use this little tool down here called towel clips, and that actually pierces the skin, and the surgeons use that tool so they can lift up the abdominal wall and then insert the little camera that helps them guide around the surgery. So the surgeon that Jared had been working with said, you know, this thing is a problem. This is supposed to be minimally invasive surgery, but it's actually causing wounds and sometimes infections for patients. And we need something else to replace it, so they invented this little suction cup doodad that sort of attaches to the abdominal wall, lifts up. Their hypothesis was all surgeons are going to love this tool because they don't want to use this invasive one. They're going to want something that doesn't hurt the patient. Okay, that was their hypothesis going in. They had to go out and talk to customers, though, to understand whether that was really true or not, so they did this. These are the kinds of questions they asked. Whose pain point am I addressing? Who'll buy this? Anybody have an idea of who might buy or fund this solution for laparoscopic surgeons?
Hospital boards.
Hospital boards, that's a great guess.
Doctors.
Doctors, that's another great guess.
Innovators, so like, you know, you're passionate about it, but you don't have any knowledge about it, but you still want to help people in that area.
Innovators, maybe people that want to be sort of out front, want to be seen as the leading surgeons in their market. Those are all great guesses, and Jared tested those assumptions, actually. So these were his initial ideas. Okay, whose pain point am I addressing? I think all surgeons. So most surgeons do some form of laparoscopic surgery, and he really thought, his hypothesis was, they're all going to want to replace that invasive tool with the suction cup device. And he thought, maybe it's the hospital purchasing departments that are going to want to fund the solution. He thinks probably insurance companies care about it as well. And that the early adopter would be people who don't do very many laparoscopic surgeries and aren't that comfortable with it, because they're going to really have the need for something that makes the surgery easier to accomplish. So he went out and did some customer interviews. He interviewed surgeons, he interviewed hospital boards, he interviewed insurance companies. These are hard people to find. He invested a lot of time, he and his team. And most of his ideas were wrong, okay? Whose pain point am I addressing? He learned very quickly, so he and his colleagues, Flavia and Michael, went to a conference that was attended by a lot of laparoscopic surgeons, and they asked, like, the first 10 people they talked to, you know, essentially said, yeah, I mean, the towel clips are kind of an issue, but I'm not willing to change my technique. I'm not interested. It's not a pain point for me as a surgeon. I'm not interested in a new thing. When they talked to OB and GYN surgeons, on the other hand, they generally said, yes, this is an issue. Part of the reason for that was those people didn't do a high volume of laparoscopic surgeries. Another reason is a lot of those surgeons are women who have smaller hands. It's harder to grip the tools that they were currently using. So they really decided to focus in on this market. Who will buy or fund a solution? In this case, they thought the hospital purchasing departments would do it. Turns out, no. These surgeries have a really high margin, which means the hospital makes a lot of money off of them. So physicians themselves have a lot of power to decide what items they buy to pull off the surgery. So it's just the surgeons that are making that decision. It's a cheap enough device that they could do it without consulting anybody else. So they learned that in their early customer discovery. Who else cares about this problem? Really? Nobody. Nobody. The patients probably do, but the patients weren't that relevant to the business model. Do you know why?
They're not using the product.
They're not using the product. That's not the pain that Jared's company was trying to solve. Ultimately, it helps the patient, but the patient has no power in the process. Who's my early adopter? Gynecologists, female surgeons. So that's the power of customer discovery. I'm going to walk back a little bit and show you how to do the process. So now you know, you have an idea of who your segments are maybe. You know, you can start with a guess. If you have no idea who they should be, you just start with a guess and you get out there and start talking to people. Second step is actually lining those interviews up. So any thoughts about how you would find people to do interviews with?
I mean, there's multiple different ways to reach different people to get interviews, but
yeah.
I mean, what I've done is put myself out there, and I've made it available to people that I'm willing to learn what's wrong with my product.
Yeah,
and
so that's it in a nutshell.
Just like I just show up and I'm like, hey, this is what I got. To me, it's not great.
Yeah.
What could I do, in your opinion, to make it better? And a lot of people have been very responsive to that alone.
So you're absolutely right. First thing you said was, I just get out there. You just get out there. You just go for it. You ask. So where to find interviews? Friends of friends. Okay, so we live in an era where it is easier than it ever has been to meet the friends of your friends in social networks, right? So I very often, when I'm looking for people to interview or people to recruit to, do exercises in class or whatever, I'll just post something on LinkedIn or post something on Facebook saying, hey friends, do you know any laparoscopic surgeons for my team to interview? I'm looking for, people who are 5 to 7 years in their career, et cetera, et cetera. Someone in my network will repost that, and someone else will see it and will know someone and pass along. Social networks are a really powerful way of lining up interviews. But you don't want to talk to your friends themselves.
Why not?
Why not? Anybody know?
Yeah, you lose friends.
What? You lose friends? Hopefully you wouldn't lose your friends.
Sometimes, some of them are just, they're not responsive because depending upon what you're trying to change, some people will be like, that doesn't necessarily fit the image I thought you were.
Maybe.
Bias.
Bias. This is the reason that I had in mind. So friends will definitely want to tell you what you want to hear, right? They're going to have a really hard time giving you true, honest feedback. They probably know what you're working on. They probably know your idea. It's going to be really hard for them to say, I would never buy that. I would never use that. I don't think that that's appropriate for this problem. So you want to talk to people who are 2 steps removed from you or 3 steps removed from you, a friend of a friend or somebody that you've been introduced to. For your very first interviews, when you're maybe not as comfortable with the process, totally okay to talk to your friends, your mom, your dad, come visit me, interview me in my office, just to get used to the process. But ultimately, you want to get to a place where you're talking to people who will give you truly objective information, even harsh truths. You want to hear that stuff. Conferences and trade shows. So I don't know how many of you this will be relevant for, but are any of you working on an idea that is sort of business to business that's really not relevant for consumers? You are, Fisher, you want to say something about what it is?
Yeah, sort of. I'm developing a business strategy to help cultivate entertainers into a more manageable product.
Cultivate entertainers?
Or sort of entertainment.
Okay.
When you think about it, an entertainer even, it provides a product. They provide a feeling of being belonged to, like people cling to Drake, people cling to musicians, they cling to their favorite actors.
Got it. So who's your customer? Who's
the businesses and the managers who oversee these actors, and it's kind of a way for them to think, how can I PR my actor better?
Perfect example. Okay, so you're targeting entertainment companies and managers and professionals. Are you going to meet those people by going to the farmer's market on a Saturday morning? No. You probably might not even, depending on your social network. I don't know your social network, but it's going to be hard to find that way too.
So for me, what I did is, I've been very fortunate. I've met people in my life. And I have a friend that's in the industry already, so I just shot him a message. And he was like, that's great. And so it went from there. But
that's great. So
most people aren't that fortunate.
A lot of people aren't that fortunate. And so for people like Nick, so you're probably having a hard time thinking about how would I reach the truck driver industry. I mean, I don't know you. You may have some friends who know some people, but in general, how you reach those people, you try to find a professional event where a bunch of them are hanging out, especially when you're working on a solution that's business to business or involving nonprofit administrators who don't just, you can't find them on the street. Conferences and trade shows are a great use of seed money. If any of you apply to any sort of fund where you get $500, $1,000 for innovation, which there are a few of those around in the state, this is a great way to spend it. So Jared and his team went to that trade show. It was in Washington, D.C. They had a $5,000 grant from the state to do customer discovery. They spent almost all of it at that trade show trying to interview gynecologists, and it was so worth it. So their business is getting off the ground now. A year later, they still use that data from that one weekend event. These can be really powerful experiences. Another thing that, for those of you who know Jessica Salmon, I borrow this phrase from her. I'm not sure where she heard it first, but think like a traveler. Any thoughts on what that means? Think like a traveler.
Open to new things.
Open to new things. Definitely.
See what other people are doing in that place.
See what other people are doing in that place. What it means is, in your ordinary world, especially when you're encountering the people that matter to your idea, it's opening your eyes and really paying attention to what they do. So, for example, I worked with some students last year who were trying to solve problems for busy working parents, especially moms. And the woman who founded the team, created the idea, was herself a busy working mom and kind of started off assuming she knew everything about what those people's lives were like. But the more she got out there into the world, and she would sit at playgrounds, she would sit at farmers markets, and she would just observe, see patterns. She would notice things that she never noticed before, especially in terms of how parents and kids interact around technology, like iPhones and iPads and things. So thinking like a traveler means unlocking your powers of observation when you're out in the world, especially when you're in an environment where you're experiencing other people who care about the problem. Finally, this might be the most important thing. So since Rogelio's in the room, I'm going to say this. You are literally 2 degrees of connection away from anybody, including the Pope. And only Rogelio knows why I say that. You are lucky to be at a university, right? Your professors, your advisors, your mentors, your fellow teammates, all of us have connections. You should shamelessly ask us for help, especially if you have trouble finding the people that you know you need to talk to. So maybe it's like top hospital administrators. That's a hard group of people to get access to. Guess what? Between me and Rogelio and Cheryl Reeves and Jessica and Rachel, we know those people. We can find those people. We can say, hey, do you have 15 minutes for my student? And we are so happy to help you. So as you get there out into the world and do customer discovery, when you come up against hurdles, or even before you come up against hurdles, ask for help. We love doing this. Okay. Anybody know these 2 students? These 2 women back here? Yeah. Laura and Sarah. So these are 2 students who went through the Social Innovation Challenge last year? Yes. And they addressed a problem that was posed by Don, whose last name is Bennett, of Tricycle Farms. So Tricycle Farms is a hunger relief food insecurity organization that essentially is trying to grow food and teach people how to grow food, healthy food, and provide access to families who might otherwise not have it. And I don't know what the initial challenge was. Do you know off the top of your head?
Well, it was basically the adaptation of a hydroponic system that wasn't necessarily working the way it was supposed to be working, and increase productivity.
Increase productivity, essentially. So here's one of the gardens at Tricycle Farms right here, and it's a pretty, traditional organic vegetable garden. What they really wanted to do was maximize yields for the amount of space they had, for the amount of human power they had to keep it going. Laura and Sarah were engineers. Were they both engineers? Or just one of them an engineer? I think they were both engineers.
One is biology.
All right. One's a biologist, one's an engineer. That's right. I can't remember which is which. They essentially proposed, okay, we're going to build on these really successful examples of hydroponic farms, which reduce the use of fertilizers, pesticides, water, increase yields for human power. And for the past couple of years, they've been working to implement this. So if you're Laura and Sarah, you're given this problem, you have this potential solution, who might you want to interview? That's it?
Farmers.
Farmers. Yeah. What would you ask the farmers?
What are you using in your farm to grow food?
Yeah. What are you using? What are your techniques? What else might you ask them?
What's the hardest part about growing it?
Good. What's the hardest part about growing it? And then what do you do when they start to talk?
Listen.
You just listen. People, when they're comfortable with you, they love to talk about their problems. That is the most powerful thing that you can open up. When they start to talk about their problems, their challenges, just listen. Record everything. So farmers and their problems and their current methods. Who else might you talk to?
Other stakeholders, like investors.
Other stakeholders, like investors, right. So Tricycle Farms is a nonprofit. It has philanthropic donors. It's also trying to generate some revenue streams, and it might need investment for that. What kinds of things would you ask the investors who care about this issue?
What type of return would you want to see?
What type of return would you want to see? So have you heard of impact investors? What's an impact investor, since you're volunteering?
impact investors are people who do like philanthropic investments that they know they won't get a higher return on the market than they could elsewhere, but they're doing it because they know that what they're doing is going to impact the culture or impact something that they care about.
Yeah, I
So
think that's a good definition.
They're
Anything to add
investing
to that?
to impact, knowing that they will get less of a return than they normally would, but it's for a cause that they care about.
Yeah, they're looking not only at the financial return of their investment, they're looking at the social return, the sociocultural return, the environmental return, etc. So this is exactly the kind of project that an impact investor would love because you're making the whole operation more efficient. So my dollar is going to really add value for the organization. It's going to add value to the people who are suffering from the problem, and it might even open up a revenue stream. So those are great examples of people that you would talk to and things that you would ask. So planning your interview. This is maybe not the most exciting part of the presentation, but I think it might be the most useful to you. There's a book called Talking to Humans. It's on a resource slide at the end that a lot of this content comes from. These are the basic steps that you want to take when you've lined up somebody and have maybe 15 or 20 minutes with them. That's a good amount of time to ask for. You don't want to go too much longer unless it's somebody who's really invested in the problem and really wants to talk to you. Number one, before you go in, you need to actually form some hypotheses or assumptions. And again, these are ideas that you want to test with your interviews. If you don't do that, you'll be too scattered. Number two, you want to learn about your customer before the interview. And this really matters if you're in this B2B environment and the people you're interviewing are hard to find. So if they're hospital administrators, CEOs, people who live far away, you want to make the most of the time. You don't want to waste it with things that are available on their LinkedIn profile. It also helps you establish credibility when you go into an interview if you've done your homework, if you know a little bit about who they are and what their job is, and you don't ask them those questions. Have a script. So especially in the beginning, and I still do this. I was a journalist for a long time, so I interviewed a lot of people for a living, and now I interview potential customers for student teams. I still can't go into an interview without a written script. It really helps because there will be lulls in the conversation. There will be moments when I think, okay, I've got 5 minutes left. Did I hit all the important points? It really helps to have the questions there in front of me, but you need to be prepared to be spontaneous. Why do you think that's important?
You might lose their attention span.
Pardon me?
You might lose their attention.
You might lose their attention. You need to engage them because it's a conversation. So if you're just looking down and reading your questions one by one, they're not going to be so engaged in who you are and the problem you're trying to solve.
They might start talking about something that you hadn't thought about, and if you just keep going with your script, you're not going to get those insights.
Exactly. They might head in a direction that you realize is totally relevant, and you want to be able to pursue it and continue to ask, especially if it's a pain point. Ask the why behind the what. Okay, this is a pain point, but why?
It really helps relationship-wise.
Yep, helps build a relationship. A lot of people that interview once, you might want to interview again, and you can get them to care about what you're doing, and the conversation builds a relationship. Did you have something?
Yeah, I was saying they might ask you something that's totally unrelated, and you have to relate that back to what you're talking about.
Yes, you might need to redirect the conversation. This is one of the hardest things to learn in an interview is when the conversation starts to head in a direction that maybe they want to talk about but isn't relevant to your problem or your idea, you need to gently redirect. And there are a lot of ways that you can do that, and they become much easier with practice. But that's another reason why you need to be in the moment and spontaneous. Otherwise, you can waste all the time you have. Prepare open-ended questions. I think it's obvious why you want to do that. You don't want to give them yes, no, because you don't get a lot of information out of that. And really, really, really important, think in terms of people, not products. So you're not trying to get their opinion about a product you're designing. You're trying to understand who they are, what their pain point is, what their problem is, what they're doing today, what they're seeking tomorrow. This is critically important. I told you I remembered your idea. So this is Nick. Nick was in the problem finding workshop, and I was very captivated by the problem you're trying to solve and the way that you're looking at it. So Nick has been given a problem. You want to describe it for the group?
Sure, yeah. So it's increase truck driver retention and improve their experience on and off the road. So
right.
It's pretty broad.
It's pretty broad. And who posed that problem? Do you know?
JB Hunt.
JB Hunt.
Is kind of behind that idea as well.
Yeah, so JB Hunt cares about that for obvious reasons, right? They want to save money, they want to improve quality, they want to make their truck driver workforce more efficient. But in our last session, you were clearly approaching this already from the truck driver's point of view. What have you learned about them so far?
Well, I talked to Mr. Kemp, who is the ex-CEO of ABF, so he's been there for a very long time. And he just told me a lot. He had definitely more of the corporate view, but he did kind of shed some insight. He's just talking about being away from family, obviously, is number one. But the one thing he brought up I didn't think about was there's some hostility between drivers and the people who receive the shipments. And sometimes that really makes the drivers mad when they're greeted very rudely after they drive, 3 or 4 days to get somewhere, and then they're treated very poorly. So that's something I found out that I didn't know.
Yeah, so treated poorly, they're away from their families, and then you had mentioned a third thing, at least one other thing.
Oh yeah, I mentioned just the monotony of the monotony of their job, what they're doing.
Monotony of their job and the social isolation of that.
Right. Yeah.
So you're already sort of living in the point of view of the truck driver, which is so right. That's so the place that you want to start from. Not what does J.B. Hunt want to see at the end of this. To solve this problem, you're going to have to empathize with these people and what they're going through. So what hypotheses, and I'm not asking you at this point to have hypotheses formed, but for the group, what hypotheses might you form around the needs of truck drivers? Or assumptions might be an easier word. What assumption might you have that you could go out and test?
More time with people.
They want more time with their people. To me, that seems obvious. I'm sure that it's true, but you don't know until you go out and ask them. Maybe they're trying to get away from their families. Could be. My husband would probably consider that. Just some alone, quiet time, please. What other assumptions might you have?
They need better, more reliable resources while they're out on the road.
Better, more reliable resources while they're out on the road. They're all alone, but they need a support system. That's a great one to test. That's a really good one to test because you want to solve their problems, and that gives you a route to solve. Something is solvable there if the answer is yes.
The job's boring.
The job is so boring, right? I imagine it is, but maybe it's not. Like when I was a kid, I can remember my friend's dad was a truck driver, and I can remember going into his cab, and he had the CD radio, and they had all kinds of crazy conversations and like cartoons streaming on them. And at the time, as a kid, I was like, "Well, they found so many ways to make this the coolest place in the world." But presumably, yes, the job is boring, monotonous. But you got to test it, right? These are all great assumptions. Anything else? That's a great place to start. Prepare open-ended questions. What kinds of questions might you ask when you go out and start talking to truck drivers to get these problems?
Find out why they became a truck driver.
That's a great one. Why did you become a truck driver? Get at their motivations. They were probably trying to solve some problem in their own lives.
What's the most frustrating thing about being a truck driver?
What's the most frustrating thing about being a truck driver? Chances are you ask that question and it unleashes the rest of the conversation, right? Which is great. That's priceless. That's getting you to a point of empathy with these people. Great. So you guys are totally right. What problems do you encounter in this area? That's a great place to start. And then you gradually get narrower in your interviews. And as you do more interviews and you start to really refine your assumption or your hypotheses and you start to develop ideas around this, maybe products around this, you can get down to these questions at the end. But I suggest for those of you who are feeling, not quite comfortable with your audience, not quite comfortable with your problem yet, just focus up here in these first 3 questions. How big is the problem? Tell me more. How are you solving that problem today? What's working for you? What's not working for you? Are you open to new solutions, etc.? I say maybe. What do you think about this solution? Because like I said before, you're not going in to make a pitch. You're not going in to talk about your idea. Eventually you will need to, though. Eventually when you have an idea and you think, okay, well maybe J.B. Hunt could provide X, Y, Z, add-ons to their HR package to make their lives more comfortable. Maybe the receivers on the other end could receive some training that would make them more receptive and friendly or interact in a healthier, more professional way with the truck drivers. Eventually you want to understand if those solutions will work, will help from the truck driver's point of view, but you don't want to start there. You want to start up here. During the interview, some additional tips. Number 1, you want to gather relevant demographic data. So for some of you, you might be trying to solve problems for low-income households. Some of you might be trying to solve problems for high-income households. That's an example of demographic data that you might want to try to gather in the interview so that you can separate what you're hearing. Not at the beginning of the conversation, but you might want to have a way of getting at it. For others of you, that might not be relevant at all. So you need to think about what is relevant for you. Family size is another kind of demographic data. Type of job is another kind of demographic data. If you are solving, let's say, the surgeon's pain. So let's go back to the laparoscopic surgeon. Does it matter if that person has 2 kids or 4 kids? No, right? They're going to use the suction cup or they're not going to use the suction cup. It doesn't matter what their family is like. If you're solving a problem that helps parents pack healthy lunches, does it matter if they have 1 kid or 4 kids? Yeah, probably does matter because the parent with 4 kids probably is more time crunched and more likely to need that help, more likely to have that problem. So think ahead of time, okay, what in every interview do I need to gather? And don't gather stuff that's not relevant to you. 1 person leads, 1 person take notes, and you have 3 people to go, the other person listens and asks for context. It's really important that at least 2 of you go to an interview at a time. And one of the reasons for that is to avoid confirmation bias. You want to be able to say to each other at the end of the interview, I heard this, what did you hear? Make sure that you're really being honest about what the person is saying. And the other reason is just purely practical. It's really hard to be doing the interview and writing everything down all at the same time. And details are really important. So ideally the note takers got their laptop open, they're typing every word, actual quotes. Those are really valuable, especially as you start to have a high volume of interviews. You want to listen, listen, listen. Maybe 20% talking, 80% listening. And at the end of every conversation, what does this mean? Ask for referrals.
How do you go forward now? Like what next?
What next? Who else should I talk to? Is there anybody else that I should be out there interviewing to help me understand the problem that you just spent 20 minutes telling me about? Do you have other friends like you that I could talk to? Ask for referrals. People who have spent time with you, they're going to start to care about you. They're going to be curious about where you're headed. They'll probably want to help you. After the interview, you definitely want to get your notes in order quickly. You want to try to analyze trends. So if you're hearing the same thing person after person after person, and then you hear something different from one person, you want to sort of flag in that interview, this person's an outlier. Everybody else said, no, it's not an issue for me to be using these towel clips for invasive surgery. But this one person said, it's a big issue. You need to pay attention to that. Why is this person an outlier? You need to try to figure it out. If you're interviewing in volume, and this could happen when you're at a conference and you've got like 300 interviews all in the same 2 days, or it could happen if you are doing something that's relevant for a consumer audience and you're at the farmer's market or you're at the mall or Nordstrom's or wherever, and you've got your clipboard and you're talking to 20 people at a time. Try using a spreadsheet and focusing really on your key assumptions, the things that are most important for you to get data around, because you don't want to make decisions based on 1 person or 2 people. You want to make decisions based on a high volume of people. So a spreadsheet can help. And I can provide templates of that if anybody wants to do a spreadsheet when they're doing their interviews. Finally, to unlock creativity, this is a tool in the sort of school of design thinking. You could try creating an empathy map. We're going to do a little exercise now, assuming we're on time. Around an empathy map. What is an empathy map? It's basically a way of organizing what you're hearing from your interviews. It can be focused on a single person, or it can be focused on a segment, so people who are very much like each other. Basically all it is you do a diagram or you do some sticky notes, which is what we're going to do. You put some information about the person or the segment in the middle, and then you divide what you've heard from them into what they say, what they think, what they do, what they say about what they do, and how they feel. And the reason for dividing it up into these 4 quadrants is that you might create solutions around each of them. So what they say is relevant for what reason? Can you think of a reason why that's relevant?
Might depend on what they're doing, right?
It would definitely depend on what they're doing. But let's say you're talking to the busy mom with 2 kids, and she says, oh, God, I just can't stand packing lunches. It's just my biggest frustration. And anytime I see anything that helps me relieve that website or whatever, I always post on Facebook to my friends and tell them about it. Why is that relevant for you? Do you care about that problem?
She's willing to talk about it. Maybe it is valid to pursue.
Yeah, if she's willing to talk about it, maybe it's valid to pursue. She's also basically saying, I talk about this a lot. I complain about it to my friends. That means she can help you market a solution. If you give her a solution, she's going to post about it to her friends. Maybe it could spread in that way. So it's relevant to your marketing channels. which is important whether you have a for-profit or a nonprofit solution. Why is what she thinks important?
You want to understand the problem.
Yeah.
That's why.
You want to understand the why behind the what. The why behind the what is often what can open the door to a new and different solution.
I also say it's important to know what she says and what she thinks because, I mean, like you said frustrated, and it's a hassle. That doesn't mean that she doesn't think that it's not important.
Right.
That doesn't mean that it's not something that she sees as necessary for her kids.
Right.
So she could hate doing it, but it is a necessity for her.
Right. It's a necessity for her, and understanding how she thinks also helps you know how to reach her. So with any solution that you want out there in the world, you're going to have to persuade somebody, this is worth your time to try it. So, for Laura and Sarah, they would have to persuade Don, the donors, the investors, the people who work in the gardens. All of these people need to buy into their hydroponic solution, right? So they need to understand how those people are thinking about their jobs, how they're thinking about their role in the system, to know how they can persuade them to change what they're doing. People don't really like to change, and like business people call that switching costs. There's a cost associated with a new technique. So you've got to understand how people think to overcome it. I think this is probably the most important thing because people will often say, yeah, I would do this. Like on January 1st, I'm definitely going to go to the gym 3 times a week all year. I'm going to do that on January 1st. I'm going to tell you I'm going to do that. But we're not really good at predicting what we will actually do. So a good way to get at what we really do in your interviews is not to say, would you do this? Would you try this? Would you use this? A good way to get at it is to say, what have you done? What did you do last week? Tell me about your normal routine on the farm. Tell me how you, in the past 6 months, have handled school lunches for your kids. Tell me what techniques you've used in the OR. We're much better at remembering what we did in the past than we are predicting our future behavior. And feels is also relevant for all kinds of reasons. That gets at the empathy. That gets at the source of the frustration. It's relevant for marketing. It's relevant for solution. It's relevant for persuasion. So this is an example of what an empathy map might look like. In this case, it's somebody who's buying a TV. And this could very well be me. This person is Jamie. But Jamie's a lot like me. Jamie doesn't think about buying TVs that often. I don't care enough about it to do the research. But when I'm actually in the store, I'm like, oh, God, I don't even understand these terms. What is 4K, 5K, 40, 20, 60 resolution? I don't know. Do they think I'm stupid? I feel kind of vulnerable. I don't want to be ripped off, so I don't want to spend money on something that I don't need, so I feel a little overwhelmed. I'm not sure who to trust because all the Best Buy people around me are salespeople, and they might be lying to me, and I'm anxious, and I feel a little inadequate. What I do is exactly this kind of thing. I probably check the website ahead of time. I would go to Amazon and read the reviews. And what I say is kind of like, what do you think about this model? Where should I start? What brand do you recommend? Those kinds of questions. So I hope you can get a sense of how this might help you design a solution around this person's experience. For example, look at what I'm doing. What in here would point to a solution for making my experience of buying a TV better?
You want to know, so you're doing research and checking websites, so knowledge about the terminology.
Yeah, and checking the website to get knowledge. So if you're providing TVs to me, you might make sure that your website has great, easy to understand information, because that's what I'm doing, so you better be there. You better have a website to begin with. What else? People selling TVs generally do, but a lot of people don't need one. Do you have something?
Maybe have an idea of what TV you kind of want, and so get the parameters on what you don't want, and just take that out, and then just set the parameters on what you do want and how you utilize that product.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, maybe if I'm the person trying to solve Jamie's problem, I give them this option. I say, okay, how big of a TV do you want? Do you care more about cost effectiveness or super high def quality? Are you a video gamer, etc.? You let me filter based on what I know about myself, not based on the technical specifications that clearly make me extremely uncomfortable. That's a great idea. Okay, so I think you guys get the point. We're going to walk through an exercise here. One more point about empathy maps. depending on the kinds of interviews that you're doing, the information that you get might not fall into these neat buckets. So don't think of this as a formula. Think of it as a tool that you can adapt. So you may want to add a bucket. So for example, if you're working on a fitness app and you want to improve people's lives by helping them stay fit in their daily worlds, in their office place or whatever. When you're interviewing people about fitness, you're probably going to hear a lot of goals. So you might just want to add a goal box to your empathy map. You might also hear about obstacles, depending on who you're talking to. You might want to add an obstacles bucket. Be open to what you're hearing and add buckets as it's relevant to your idea. But these are, I think, the four. Okay, so this is the exercise we're going to do. I keep talking about the busy mom who hates packing school lunches because she has 2 kids. That is totally my life. And we had a student team last year who came through the graduate program and had this idea we really wanted to solve for that pain point. So they had a solution that was around an app that kids would go on and select what meals they wanted to have at school. And their hypothesis that they went out and validated was that if kids chose their own food selection, they'd be more likely to actually eat it at school instead of throwing it away, which a lot of parents know their kids do. So they did a lot of customer discovery. I'm going to ask you to divide into 4 groups. So right now we have 5 groups. So maybe you guys, let's see now, you guys could work together, this table and this table. And maybe somebody from this table could come over here and join this group. Do you have any volunteers? I'm going to give each table an interview that they did and a set of stickies and ask you to divide your stickies into these 4 categories based on what you hear out of the interview. And each table is getting a different interview. They're real interviews. The names have been changed. That's all.
Yeah.
Just like come closer.
Say honestly.
I'm just kidding. Bro, you were on a roll.
And this one's
So we're going to take about 8 or 10 minutes and just write down as many things as you can on your stickies.
So I have like 150 for the semester, so now we just do a sticky note that each says things because so Martha's the user, she's not out of the bill. So we read the
Wait, so we all do each?
what she's saying, what she's thinking, what she does, so what she does. She makes dinner, how she feels. Can we highlight around it?
Yeah. Okay, there we go. What is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Right on the students, and then we, I don't know, do we put them on the, on the wall? I think that's what she wants us to do. I can do the, phosphate, the says, I guess.
Do we all do one?
First line, Marshall. Some says too, Marshall.
Oh, I got something.
Literally in quotes.
Yeah, that's it.
There's nothing I'm doing right now, but I stop. That's fair. Do you want us to put them on the wall?
I think these represent like
No, you can keep them in your groups. We'll talk about them, and as we talk about them, I'll write something.
Yeah, so what she does would be, the
It works. She probably thinks they have more, use more time shopping and school lunches. She thinks that her kids are on technology. Yeah. So she feels as though it makes her life easier. Because she wouldn't be, they love YouTube and would watch it all day if I let them. It's stressful because I'm busy and advice happening. She feels as though it would help her life if they weren't so bad for them.
Along the lines.
I also hate freeways.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, it says it's always
With the whole floor. It's not wrong. Just to make sure.
How would you rate your pizza?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's start with like one. Just like
No, don't. Yeah, it's a word. So, what is That's right, so he catches up on, we can just all start writing it down, but he catches up on even else the next day, and someone else can write down, she changes the diaper. There's things that they do.
Basically, they have someone else, they hire someone. They don't just like the first line of the movie. Yeah, not really fun reading.
So after dinner,
she goes yeah, no. And then like she goes back from work. Yeah. Because she's a stay-at-home mom.
20 hours, yeah, so part-time.
Oh, she's part-time.
I would say that if she works 20 hours, she's part-time. You said she's actually that she had. Did you write that down? What about the when they don't use technology, or we don't
Yeah, they barely use
so they
any.
don't desire for
They say they spend $5 to $6 for lunch.
That's good. They use the moment. For time's sake. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two big ones. What do you think?
Okay, guys, I'm going to say take one more minute.
Ours is really long. We haven't even started talking.
Oh, okay. 2 more minutes. 3 more minutes. It's okay.
My ADD does not do well.
No pressure whatsoever. Try to get a couple ideas down, but if nothing comes up, we'll have to be ready.
No, we're doing it. No, I think we're doing it. Okay, here we go. Let's go. Oh, like that, like almost
Says.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, or like does.
okay.
Oh, he says
He's gonna do it at midnight.
Painful. It's like a knot. It's like
I was drinking last night.
oh, they don't. Ooh, I know they're pretty good. Feels pretty. I know I saw it again. Yeah, so it feels time.
Oh, feels, yeah, I guess that's what I was gonna say, feels rushed.
Yeah, we were
maybe he says prescriptions.
well, feels it's kind of like it's probably what we call it. Because he's not one. Yeah. Yes, but he said it's digital.
What was the big one?
Right.
You go to like
He wants to
playlist posted on Tidal.
he thinks
My
that
first word was in
kids
like a future action.
So once he can afford it, he'll
Says he
make something.
Wendy's for the radio.
for his lunch is different. To make lunch, it's pretty cheap.
The sandwich, apple, and carrots, and he said, I just didn't eat.
That's for
Carrots, it's like $2.
Bro, that's like lunch for them.
okay. What did you do? He spends most of his time working.
He outsources it.
Well, he spends his time.
They did use blue apron. They did get tries. So
Got rid of it because they were too busy making like meals.
yeah.
Because people just
So they tried putting it in this.
How was it too big? It's like
I was even serious.
what if it's basically they send you all the ingredients and then you basically have to cook it. Okay, neither do
Customer discovery.
You only spend 2 hours and 30 minutes on it.
So it's just like
Talking about like basically as you do more customer discovery,
You know the deals that, yeah, but they're healthy, but they it sounds like I like you, man. You're funny, bro. I need to say your birthday is
And that's a question. Do we want to see where the information that you have for
He thinks that his wife
Usually it's not a yes, no. Have you heard of like the
Yes, it's trouble for her. Yeah, you know
Somebody with mutual
Yeah, teacher.
One is supportive is not a good person.
Oh,
I really wish they would have
I got this. Comfortable and struggling. So like feels comfortable. Feels comfortable.
Yeah, let them just use it.
The thing was, they said they only use it for less than an hour. So he hands him Yeah, but that's why I said surprisingly so. They're really good at technology. How old are you?
Yeah, when he had the plan that they was trying to read how his life and reach out to
Yeah, you're like such a cookie. You'd be like, dad. I think you need to I think you need to get in contact with Sarah and Andrea and call them up and like give me send it.
I'm going to ask somebody to volunteer to go first, and because everybody got a different interview to read, I'll ask you just to say a little bit about who the person was, whose notes you read, and then kind of list out your key says, thinks, does, feels, and I'll map them out over here. So, any volunteers?
Sure.
Fisher, I'm not surprised. Great. Thank you.
I just hate when people just, waste.
I appreciate it.
Anyway.
Okay, who's your person?
We had Martha Jones. She's a mother of 2 children, a 6-year-old and a 3.5-year-old.
Great.
She's got a husband as well.
Okay, that's great. And what did you hear from her? What did she say?
She's saying quite a lot. She's saying that she's really busy. She's in a rush to take care of her kids, and so she's always in a mad dash. And it's not really optional for her to take care of her kids.
Okay. What does she think?
Kids are on technology too much. She thinks variety in school lunches is an issue. And she thinks that an app would help.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's ironic.
Kids, too much technology, but
Yeah, I know.
how about an app? Get used to this.
Thought about
People
using it.
contradict themselves all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, what was the other thing you said she thinks?
About using a food subscription service.
Before that, what's the first thing you said?
Variety in school lunches?
Variety in school lunches is a problem?
Yeah, she thinks it's an issue.
Not enough variety?
Yes.
Okay. Great. And what does she do?
She struggles teaching them healthy eating habits and the waste of food.
Okay. So she tries to teach her kids healthy eating habit. And she wastes food. Ouch. Me too. The amount of broccoli I dumped on my garbage is really sad. Okay, tries to teach kids. Okay, and what does she feel?
Okay, so, well, we got a lot. So,
Okay, she's all about the feels.
So, yeah, it's all about the feels. Well, anyways, for the mad dash, we also insinuate like flusteredness.
Flustered, yes. Oh my God, I so relate to this one. Okay, what else?
In terms of technology, she says she feels guilty because she lets her kids watch YouTube all the time. She says that she does care about wasting food, so she cares
That's probably
about
guilty plus one, right?
exactly. And she says that she feels responsible for her children's health.
Responsible.
And she says she feels relieved by having a choice about her kids eating healthy food.
Relieved when she has a choice. Great. Awesome. Is there anything you would have done differently when interviewing that person? person, is there any information that you wish you had that you don't have? Sounds like that was a good interview, a lot of good information. There's no other question you felt the need to ask and then you missed? Yeah, I agree. Okay, who wants to go next?
We'll go. We had Marshall. He's a father of 2 children, and he has a wife. So Marshall said he wants convenience. He won't pay more than $5, so it has to be convenient. It has to be reasonably priced. And he said that his kids are fairly healthy, but they're really picky. Which one did you want to do next? Okay. So he thinks that his kids would like the ability to choose. He thinks that the school lunches are disgusting, and that
don't provide the options.
Nutrition, they don't have a lot of options, and that junk food is bad, so they don't have it in their house.
Okay. School lunches and junk food are bad.
And then he doesn't put the lunches together, but he thinks his wife hates it a lot.
Like he thinks that's a serious pain point. Wife unhappy. What's so funny about that?
He didn't know anything about his wife. This is what this interview said.
So he's not the one that packs the lunches. His wife.
No.
He's
basically like, I don't know, maybe she doesn't like it.
You know what's funny about this team? So they were very open-minded, and they in the beginning they would always talk about moms and dads, and then they went out and did some interviews, and it's pretty old school. What they found is like literally 99% of the time it's still the moms packing lunches. So they really focused on moms after that, but not because they're sexist, just because that was the reality. They had to go out and do the interviews to understand that's the reality. Okay, what about in the does category?
He works a lot, so he's not home.
Works a lot, yeah.
And whenever he has time with his kids, he spends it outside of the house.
Extracurriculars.
Yeah, at extracurriculars.
Okay.
He outsources like everything in his house. He doesn't do anything.
He doesn't mow his own lawn. He doesn't
spend time
babysit.
with
He don't do anything.
Wow, he's got the lights. His wife makes the food, he outsources all the chores.
I don't know. It's very ambiguous.
Okay.
But he has all the weekends free. He never does anything on the He says he feels rushed and time-starved and
really.
He's more of a working.
He works a lot. He works a lot. So he said he's gone for most of the day. Yeah, he doesn't get home till 6 p.m.
Okay. So you feel rushed? Did he say anything about feeling?
He said rushed, time-starved. He said he's neutral about the kids' lunches. Like he's just like didn't really. He said he ranked it 5 on the pain point scale.
Okay.
Inconvenience was 8 out of
8 out of 10.
You sound like
And he said he felt comfortable. He felt like his kids were comfortable with technology.
Okay.
Like he said it was a feeling. I don't know. But even though he only gives them 1 hour a week on the technology, which is.
But if he's not home, how does he enforce it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully he picks the smart one.
Those are great. Is there anything that's another good interview, pretty thorough. Is there anything that you wish that the interviewer had asked?
I wish they'd ask more about his job and what he does on the weekends.
His job and I totally agree. His job and what he does on the weekends. He's feeling stressed and time-starved and all of that. So why? What is he doing? That could unlock an idea around his brain.
I wish they would have asked about like who makes the decisions on most of this stuff, because it sounds like he was phrasing it like he makes the decisions, but
probably not.
But that is a very relevant question. Who makes the decisions for almost everybody? Like who makes the decision what to use? Who makes the decision what to buy? That goes back to my point earlier about sometimes end user is not the same thing as the buyer. They're two different communities of people. Sometimes it's the same.
Yeah.
Great insights. Yeah, you guys want to go next?
Yes, because it's from the perspective of a father, but it's totally different.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Totally different. This is Jacob Arnett, father of 3. He has a wife. So you want to start with the says?
Sure.
Is that right? And y'all help out as much as you want.
Kids are not picky.
Yes, kids aren't picky.
Kids not picky. Okay.
Like school lunches aren't healthy. Says school lunches aren't healthy.
Okay.
They don't currently use a food subscription, but they're open to it. That's what he says.
That's like it does.
Okay.
Well, it's like a think and it does. Open to subscription. Not currently using one. Okay.
He feels guilt. It seemed like a lot of what he feels is he knows that his wife is doing a lot of these things, but that bothers him. And so, like, he's checking emails at night, but she's doing X, Y, and Z. So, and that bothers him. So, we put being a family unit is important to him. And the tasks that they're having to do are keeping them from that.
So that might be a think or a say. Thinks family unit's important.
And then he thinks that once they have more money, they'll be able to be a family unit. Which is really sad.
It's really sad.
They can't afford alternative options.
Okay. So that's someone I care about. It's someone who's paying them a solid.
I know, right?
Yeah.
This is like super real life.
Yeah, super real life. Anything else?
They use the Walmart to go out.
Oh, that's good. I mean, it's good because it's specific. So when you start to do these interviews, you're going to understand the more you can really dive into the specifics of what they're doing and using, the more useful it's going to be for your own thinking about solutions. So, Walmart app.
And a good sorry.
No, go ahead.
They spend $5 to $6 on lunches.
Right. Right. All that's super relevant.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say that. Okay. Anything else? Anything you would have asked that you didn't get information about?
How much money they make. I mean, if you can ask, I mean, this is like they're trying to get to this oasis, their freedom, and what dollar amount do they perceive that to be?
Yeah. So how much money do they make? This is a hard piece of information to get at, right? But I'm glad you brought it up because it's relevant for a lot of the people that you are going to be trying to serve in your projects and your teams and in your life, whether you pursue a for-profit avenue or nonprofit avenue or you're innovating within some other environment. So I just want to share one tip on that point. And that is when you know that you need to understand how much money they make, you're trying to segment them, you're trying to understand how these people that I'm trying to understand right now. You don't want to ask them that question at the beginning, and you don't want to ask them directly, probably at all, because it makes people uncomfortable. But there's a way that you can ask that I have seen work, and that is once the interview is rolling and the person's starting to be comfortable with you and they understand that you care about them and you really want to understand the problems they face, and they start to be open with you. For people who are not open with you, you don't want to try to go there at all. But for people who are starting to be open with you, the easiest way to ask it is to actually have categories of income level, like, $20,000 to $35,000, 35 to 75, 75 and above, for example. And toward the end of the interview, you can say something like, no pressure to answer this question, but we're trying to really understand the people that we're talking to so that we can serve them better. Would you mind checking your box which income category you fit into? Just let them check the box. That relieves them from having to say a number out loud. They don't have to be super specific. And it gives them the option to just say, I don't know. So that's one way to handle it. And I encourage you not to do it when you're just starting your customer discovery interviews, but as you become more comfortable with it, you'll kind of have an instinct for whether you can ask it. But it's usually relevant. In this case, it's definitely relevant. Okay, last table. You had a different kind of person. Who do you have?
Yeah. So our interviewee was Jade Anderson, who's 7 years old, and she describes herself as a super kid student. And so some of the questions that she was asked, or I guess Okay, yeah, so they interviewed parents before they interviewed her, and so they wanted a kid's point of view. And some of the questions they asked, or they hypothesized, were, will Jade be able to understand lunch offerings? Will Jade like to select the lunches herself? And will Jade engage with a digital app? And the hypothesis they tested was, kids will enjoy picking their healthy lunches and be more likely to eat the food if they are able to choose what goes in their lunchbox.
That's a great hypothesis. Sounds reasonable, but you gotta test it. So what did they hear from Jade? What did she say?
So she says that school lunches are gross, and then she also says she's a picky eater, and that she can't eat junk food until after dinner. And then when they tested, so they showed her a digital PDF menu of the school lunches, and so when they did that, she asked twice whether it would come with a toy or a treat, because part of how she feels is she envies kids with lunchboxes because they get cool treats in them from their parents. And so because of that, she's also motivated by reward and also wants to be a part of that lunchbox community. She thinks her mom isn't a good cook. But she considers herself healthy. Then, ironically, she says that meals are hamburgers, mac and cheese, spaghetti, and what she doesn't eat school lunches except for the dessert.
Oh my god. Only eat dessert. This is my nightmare. Okay.
And then when they showed her the PDF menu, she gravitated towards the veggies that were presented as characters, so having that be more fun and engaging for a kid. She really responded to, and she understood almost all of the lunch items on it, and generally seemed interested in all of the options.
Okay.
And then they also took note that she called it an app, even though it was just like she was just looking at a PDF, so we kind of interpreted that as she has knowledge of that digital realm and is comfortable using it.
Great. Did you get at what she feels at all?
Yeah, she feels she envies kids because they have lunch boxes and they get cool things.
Did it say what word she used? Did she say jealous or?
Yeah, she said she's jealous of them.
Jealous. Okay.
And then she also says, I wish I could be a lunchbox kid on Fridays.
Oh. Okay.
So she does not want to eat school lunches, basically?
Yeah, right. She wants to be a lunchbox kid. And we sort of understand why, right? Why?
Belonging.
Wants to belong.
Yeah, the sense of community.
Sense of community. She's jealous of those special places.
She's discontented.
So I'm using a different color for Jade because Jade is somebody that this solution really matters for, but she has a totally different point of view, right? So you really want to do two empathy maps around the parents and the kids. So let's talk for just a couple minutes about what we've started around the parents. I know you probably can't read any of my handwriting, which is fine, but is this a good, solid empathy map yet? No, or not?
It doesn't have enough opinions.
It doesn't have enough opinions, and we've got like.
It doesn't have a defined user.
It doesn't have a defined user. It doesn't have enough opinions. So we've got some contradictory stuff. So here's a parent who thinks too much technology but how about an app? And here's a parent who, there's somebody here, my kids are comfortable with technology, right? That's an example of a contradiction here. So you need to ask more questions of more people around these two categories. And maybe it becomes two separate categories. Maybe there are the parents who are comfortable with tech and the parents who really aren't. How do you assess which one of those segments is more relevant to your idea? And two ways. One is how many people are there that fit in this segment. So that's the size of the market, the size of the community that it impacts. And the other way is how deep is the pain, right? So for parents who hate tech and are afraid that their kids are going to grow up just walking around like this every day, are they more stressed about this problem, or are the parents who are technology literate more stressed about this problem? So there's the size of the market, and there's the depth of their pain. Those are two ways to know which customer segment is more relevant for you. What else do we need to do to make this a good empathy map? So we need to interview more people. clarity around what segments are relevant.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So like when we go out and do this, which we will, how do we, is there, I know this sounds like too specific, but is there a way to avoid this kind of ambiguity?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the goal. So that's actually the third thing that I had in my mind that we need to do to make this more useful. We don't know what our key assumptions are yet, right? When you start to understand, okay, my key assumptions are, parents in this income range of $40,000 to $65,000 who have at least 2 kids identify meal prep as among their top 3 pains that they want relief for, and they're willing to pay for a solution. There are like 4 assumptions in that, right? You don't know that those are your assumptions until you've gone out and done some basic interviewing. Once you have done that, then you can really focus your interviews on that. You can do an empathy map around moms, an empathy map around dads, but you're only asking questions around those key assumptions. You're testing them. And that reduces the ambiguity. What does that help you do? Create a solution. Narrow down the ideas. You realize that the people who have this pain fit into this category, they don't have 1 kid, they've got 2 or more kids. You know that because you've done all of your customer interviews that people with 1 kid are like, no, I don't mind, I kind of like it, it's fun, right? So once you've narrowed it down, you have your assumptions, you go after them. And that helps you target the population that you can serve, design your solution. Any other thoughts?
You answered that question really well. For me, if I'm interpreting your need, I was asking her the same thing, and she said, have a Word doc. Do you want to just tell them you would do much better?
Yeah, so this the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I was asking how you like make these things quantifiable.
Concrete.
And you shared with me.
Yeah, so my advice to Jacob was, in the beginning, there's really no way to quantify what you're hearing usually, because you're doing basic exploration, you don't have your assumptions lined up yet, you don't have your segments lined up yet. So really everything just goes into a big giant Word document. You're just recording the whole interview. Once you start to have these key ideas that you're testing, that's when it makes sense to start to do a spreadsheet. And you don't want to try to get all of your interview information in the spreadsheet, but the things that are most important for your idea. Your idea hinges upon these things being true, right? Like, do truck drivers experience boredom? Is that a major pain point for them? Or in this case, is it a major pain point for busy moms if they have to pack lunches? And then you've got a column for that question, and the answers are, sometimes it could be yes, no, but a better thing to do would be a Likert scale, which is just that. Rate this pain point on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is it's no problem at all. 5 is this is one of the most complicating things in my life, or the biggest pain in my life. And then the column looks like, 1, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 2, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. That's a pretty good sign that it's a serious pain point. You've got 2 outliers. So you want to start to do the spreadsheet when you've got assumptions that you know you need to select, or demographic information that you know you need to collect so that you can sort. And you can basically say, 9 out of 10 moms say that this is a pain point that helps bring people on to your solution. Yep.
Would you recommend using SurveyMonkey as a tool instead of the spreadsheet because it's kind of similar, or you would say that doing the spreadsheet is better?
There are a lot of tools for this. So SurveyMonkey, is a tool for sending out surveys, and it also aggregates your data. I think SurveyMonkey assumes that you're sending the survey out digitally, right?
Yes.
So customer discovery, true customer discovery, is not done by survey. It's done in person.
Well, but once you have the key points, and for example, you have like a group of 10 people, you want to share the link, not share it like to a whole, like in a social media, like
just to like test
just
those
like
key
10
ideas.
people.
Yeah.
Would you say that's like a good
Yeah,
tool?
it's a great tool.
Okay.
Yeah, the tool doesn't really matter. The idea is some way of capturing information that allows you to sort it quantitatively and not have to read, 200 pages of interview notes. So yeah, that's a great tool to use.
I was thinking about doing that with like the sensitive, as you were talking earlier, just the sensitive topics, 5 questions that I wouldn't want to ask them to their face, give them an iPad, and just like how much money do you make, things like that, like what gender do you identify with, things that you don't necessarily want to ask.
Especially as a follow-up after you have a sense of whether they're open and comfortable and they want to help you, then it's a good time to send a questionnaire for that kind of detail. questions about anything, you guys can always come visit me. My office is right there if you want to dig deeper into any of this. I love it when Smith came by the other day and was like, hey, can I talk to you for 20 minutes about something? And I said, yes, sure, it's why I'm here. So feel free to do that if you want to follow up. I've got some resources here. This is an awesome resource. It's a book, but it's a free downloadable PDF. If you just search "Talking to Humans" by Gibb Constable, it'll come up. It's really easy to read. This has all of these like interview scripts, really, really good concrete advice for how to set up interviews, how to ask people time, how to structure them, that sort of thing. So if you do nothing else, if you have to do interviews or you plan to do interviews, please get this PDF. This is a great book that comes from the design thinking perspective. It's all about getting to a place of empathy with people you're trying to serve and doing empathy maps. And this might seem random, but does anybody listen to Terry Gross on NPR? She's kind of like, oh, your parents might listen to her. This woman is the best interviewer in the history of the world, in my opinion. And if you really want to walk out on this and understand how people can sort of quickly get to the heart of a story, the heart of a person, and get to this place where people open up and convey their inner worlds to you, she is a master, and I highly recommend listening to her. It's also just a great listen. Okay, well, thank you again, and thank you for your openness to the exercise and your engagement with
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming.
Excited that you're part of the studio.
Yeah.
Did you say you're a social
Innovation.
Please. Well, if you come across any resources, we're just working out innovation.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So just tell me all about this. You started it.
Yeah.